Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and today I've got some interesting XRP topics to discuss with you here. First thing I'm going to be talking about is there's an agency within the United Nations that is openly praising Ripple and, importantly for us, XRP. I say us, presuming that you, like me, are investing in XRP as well, because this is a very XRP-focused YouTube channel. We're also going to talk to you about Anthony Pompliano. He is the co-founder and partner of Morgan Creek Digital, and he is pontificating about Bitcoin becoming the world reserve currency, which, of course, as you well know, that status is currently held by the United States dollar. So again, got a couple of topics right there to discuss with you. I think it'll be fun and interesting, and then some others as well. So let's jump right into this. After I humbly request that you just delicately tap that like button. No need to smash it though. Lightly tapping it is just as effective as smashing it and far less dorky. So go ahead and do that. And if you would, consider subscribing. I definitely appreciate the support that I'm receiving here. My small channel has been around for just a little over half a year, and we're approaching 3,000 subscribers here, so I wanted to take that as an opportunity to send a very sincere thank you out to everybody listening and everybody supporting. I can't tell you how much it means to me. It's quite humbling, really. So anyway, into the content here. This is titled, and this is from ourbitcoinnews.com. United Nations Agency praises Ripple XRP. It begins by stating, the Universal Postal Union, UPU, are a specialized agency of the United Nations that coordinates postal policies among other nations along with the worldwide postal system. They recently recommended crypto as a solution to cost-efficient transfer finances. And this was interesting to me reading this in their piece because ourbitcoinnews.com, they included a tweet from Wrath of Kahneman, and I've covered a couple of his tweets in my recent videos. He seems to really get some good finds out here, and it actually causes news because this development, actually, believe it or not, I looked at the date on the document, which I'm going to pull up in a moment. This actually was announced by the UPU in April. So it's been a few months, but I think that he's the one that initially found it. He's the first one I've seen. He's the one cited in this tweeter. So yeah, he kind of digs around and seems to find some really good stuff. So props to Wrath of Kahneman here. Anyway, so what he tweeted out on the topic was the Universal Postal Union recommends crypto as a solution to financial inclusion, mentioning Ripple, XRP specifically, as well as some partners. We've seen Japan's Post Bank join SBI Ripple Asia, watching for India and Egypt some. And then the piece goes on here. There is even a figure and infograph showing how XRP could be potentially used to transfer money. A full-on appraisal, even going as far as to say this reduces the transfer time and costs with use of cryptocurrency or transfers through the XRP network are near instantaneous. The ability to transfer at the nearest post office, often at rural locations, reduces the opportunity cost for person B. And I like, this is, I'm just going to read one more sentence here. Actually, maybe it is the last one here. Check this out. This is the coolest thing. And this is like the coolest point to make about this because we all know what's got the brand recognition really when it comes to cryptocurrency. It's still Bitcoin, and I'm very optimistic that one day XRP is going to take that #1 spot in terms of market cap. And in that way, XRP will be more of a household name than it is today, I think. I think it's likely that that's going to happen just based on the current ecosystem. But check this out. The last little sentence here. Not even acknowledging Bitcoin or Ethereum, just straight up praising and solely mentioning XRP. This is great news as UPU is a part of the United Nations. Is crypto becoming even more mainstream? Question mark. All right, and I think that's the coolest point as well. So they're like, because technically, look, we're talking about distributed ledger technology. So technically, the use case of use a crypto for cross-border transfers, you technically can do it with Bitcoin. You could do it with Ethereum, I'm sure, as well. But, well, first of all, there's no developer building on top of those blockchains to make that happen. Ripple is building on top of the XRP ledger to make that happen. But why would anybody do that for Bitcoin anyway when XRP is superior for the use case of moving money? It's uses less energy per transaction. It costs less, and it's substantially faster. XRP moves in a matter of seconds on chain, which is fantastic. So not surprising to me. But this is real world adoption by major organizations, and this is just the beginning, folks. That's what I think. Now here's the actual piece here. I did pull this up, and then I just used my little Control F to search for Ripple so I could find the pertinent parts within this document here. And this is the actual United Nations agency, the UPU. And they state, the World Bank estimates that the current average cost of remittances is around 7%, which is much higher than the 3% target set in the SDGs for 2030. A recent pilot by Ripple, a fintech company facilitating cross-border remittances from the United States to Mexico, reduced foreign currency exchange costs by 40 to 70% and finalized the transfer in an average of 2 minutes. That's, man, it's amazing to me that an agency within the United Nations is talking about this stuff already. I thought, for an organization like this, yeah, it makes sense for them to be talking about it, but I didn't realize it'd be on their radar so quickly because the ecosystem's still really getting built out. But this is just cool as heck, man, I think. And then I think I wanted to read this part as well. Yeah, they have a little, flow here. There's the XRP. I searched for that before I recorded the video, too. I think there's 6 instances of it. Yeah, here we go. And they got this here's a little graphic that they're talking about, that article that I read from. But it says, as shown in figure 1 below, a beneficiary, person B, receives cryptocurrency. We use Ripple XRP as an example. They're going to need to differentiate the way they're wording that. Ripple is not XRP. XRP is not Ripple. But that's okay. That's okay. They're delving in, and they're still, writing this on a positive note. From person A, nearly instantaneously, person B then goes to the nearest post office where she is given local fiat currency at the spot rate in cash, or as a transfer to their post-bank account. This reduces transaction time and cost through the use of cryptocurrency, where transfers through the XRP network are near instantaneous. Really cool stuff. I just think it's badass. Let's be real, man. It's okay. We can call it badass, yeah. Okay. All right, on to the next piece here. This is from Hodor. This is his latest blog here, and there are 3 topics in here I want to cover. I want to read a little bit of his beginning piece, and then there are 2 other things that he covered that I found highly fascinating. I think you'll enjoy hearing about it too. And so this starts out, XRP news update, 2 quarters done. July is here, signaling the mid-year checkpoint for those of us in crypto. For XRP, the first half of the year wound up including multiple incredible announcements, both for XRP and for digital assets. We saw innumerable investments by Ripple via their Spring initiative, which awarded investment to a large number of businesses in support of its goals, and he cited out by bullet point here. Monetization, securitization, and custody of XRP. And wrapping up the quarter, we saw 2 headlines for both Ripple and Coil, a strategic investment in MoneyGram and Imgur, respectively. And so, in my last video, I did talk at length about the Spring Initiative, how it's been around. It was announced a little over a year ago, and gosh, they've invested something like $500 million, I believe was the number, into companies that are building on top of the XRP ledger, which is absolutely astounding. And I noted that that's spectacular for XRP holders, because XRP actually has to be held in order to be used by somebody to facilitate the needs of all these developers that are building on top of these ledgers. So if any of these use cases take hold, yeah, that's great for the XRP ecosystem, because you know what that does, the supply and demand if more XRP has to be used for anything. So it's absolutely fantastic, bullish news. Jumping down here, this is cool. So I am not a fan of proof of work. Mining, not really a fan of that. That's what Bitcoin uses to solve the double spin problem. We already have superior technology that utilizes consensus to solve the same double spin problem. It's just a matter of coming to consensus on the arrangement in which transactions were received. And if you get enough participants on the XRP ledger agreeing on that, then it doesn't matter what order they're received. It'll be a matter of a split-second difference. As long as the majority agrees, then that's the way that it's written to the actual ledger. And so, as a result, since that solves the double spend problem, you just don't need proof of work. You don't need mining. And so Hodor covered this, and I found this is fascinating. He's talking about electronic waste, and the question is posed, what is electronic waste? Electronic waste is comprised of the ingredients in specialized processors and other equipment, often heavy metals or toxic materials. This equipment, because of the modifications that have been made solely for the purpose of proof of work mining, is not usable for any other function. Digiconomist, a popular digital trends website, indicated that 1 Bitcoin transaction generates the equivalent electronic waste of 10,000 Visa transactions. Did you hear that? A popular digital trends website indicated that 1 Bitcoin transaction generates the equivalent electronic waste of 10,000 Visa transactions. Folks, there is a better way to do this. This is awful. I'm telling you, proof of work, it needs to go the way of the dodo. It needs to go extinct. It needs to not exist anymore. There's a better way to do this. And to me, it doesn't make sense to continue building on top of what is just inferior technology. It's just insanity to me. So that's why, like, I don't know, maybe Bitcoin magically will have staying power and people will actually continue to utilize it for, basically storage of wealth, maybe. But I'm just telling you, me personally, I'd rather, if I'm going to have like storage of wealth type asset that's digital, I'd rather throw it in XRP, because if it's getting used and there's real world adoption, that gives me much more confidence that it is staying in power, as opposed to Bitcoin, which is highly wasteful and slow. It's just, and then the Lightning Network doesn't even work, and it requires pre-funded accounts, so it's centralized anyway. No, thank you. I will take my XRP. Yes, please, sir. Right. So, and the article made a recommendation. This is where I'll leave it on this topic. It's the last thing I'm going to say on this topic. The article made the recommendation that Bitcoin, quote, replace its mining mechanism. Amen, brother. I'm with you on that one. I am absolutely with you on that one. Okay, now the third piece I want to cover in Hodor's blog here, and this is just kind of a fun one. It actually kind of has to do with the Spring Initiative, but are you guys familiar with Scooter Braun? He's gotten funding through Ripple's Spring Initiative, and he's an agent for some major names cited here: Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, Demi Lovato. And so anyway, Scooter Braun acquired Scott Borchetta's Big Machine Label Group on June 30th for roughly $300 million. This deal gives him access to the back catalog of Big Machine Label Group, which includes, controversially, the early catalog of Taylor Swift. Here's the important part. The reason those of us in the XRP community track Scooter Braun's business dealings is because his companies have received spring funding, ostensibly for content monetization or to integrate content delivery with crypto payments, although the long-term vision has never been described at more than high level. I think he worded that wrong. He meant it at more of a high level. But anyway, one article from over a year ago quoted Corey Johnson stating, "Spring is a way for us to invest in, partner with, and help develop a community of businesses using XRP as a fundamental technology." And so that's why I make the point every time I see one of these developments and I see Ripple investing through the Spring Initiative into businesses, that means that they're doing something on top of the XRP ledger, which means that XRP is going to be used, which will bode well for long-term adoption and upward price action. That's why this is important. That's why I'm always going to share every development with you as more businesses are invested in by Ripple through their Spring Initiative. Okay, that's the last piece from Hodor's blog there. Moving on here. This piece was from, actually, no, I originally saw it, J.C. Collins. I don't think I've talked about him too much on my channel, if at all. Really sharp guy. I've had minimal interaction with him online, but I follow the guy. He's super sharp, again, and his website, I think it's philosophyofmetrics.com if you want to go check it out, but he tweeted, this is a retweet, but he wrote in his retweet, "The whole financial industry is about to be turned upside down." And so then I clicked on this. And this, I love this guy's name. You know, Brad Garlinghouse is the CEO of Ripple. Well, this guy on Twitter, he names himself Brad Garlic House, which I just think is clever and makes me chuckle when I read it. And so he tweeted out, "When public have direct access to central bank money, banks will no longer be able to borrow from central banks at cheap rates and lend it to us at cutthroat rates, which means they have to find money somewhere else. If only there was a way to release dormant capital, .. #XRP. Because as we well know, banks have, it's mostly the big banks, though, I will say that. So to what degree this is going to have an effect on the majority of banks, I'm not sure. But yeah, for the big banks, they've got dormant capital all over the planet, which is just the pre-funded Nostra Vostra accounts. And absolutely, if you're able to utilize a bridge currency like XRP, you can certainly put that money to better use. But right now, the largest banks, they actually are making money by through their smaller competitors. Actually, their smaller competitors are paying the larger competitors to tap into that liquidity at high rates, and then that's of course passed along to their customers. So it's just another middleman. But this can all be eliminated, and so that's why some of the largest banks probably aren't as excited about Ripple's doing. But as adoption continues to unfold, it will even make sense for the largest banks to do this once their revenue source dries up. They, with their Nostro accounts, won't want to have that money sitting around doing nothing if they don't have smaller competitors tapping and paying them for the use of it. So even they, at some point, would want to tap into this bridging technology utilizing XCurrent and XRapid at some point, just so they can unleash their funds and do something else with it. So ultimately, everybody's on board. It's just like right now, is it a priority for Ripple to go after the largest banks? Well, no. They're resistant to that, as I've cited in the past. Ashish Burla, he's one of the senior vice presidents at Ripple, and he's publicly stated in the past, on more than one occasion, that their target client, it's not large banks. It just isn't. And so they found other cheaper corridors or not cheaper. They call it low-hanging fruit corridors, where there's the most friction, where they can actually help people today. But yeah, certainly long term, it could certainly make sense for larger banks to delve in and jump in and become a customer of Ripple. So we'll just have to see how things unfold. But there's going to be some resistance along the way, no doubt. All right, and here's the piece here. I'm not going to read this. This is the piece that Bread Garlic House. I love that name so much. Here's the piece that he tweeted out, and so I'm not going to read through it. I kind of covered the piece that I wanted to. If you want to read this, feel free. It's going to be in the detail section below here. All right. Now this is from T+0 at T+0 on Twitter, and he tweeted out, "When Ripple sells XRP, the vast majority of proceeds is used to fuel ecosystem growth. Whoever says Ripple is dumping on us simply has no clue." And this is a fun way of looking at it that I hadn't seen anybody tabulate in this particular way before. And we know, and it makes sense based on the news we got today about the Spring Initiative, Ripple investing $500 million, that's $500 million, into the XRP ecosystem by giving that money to XRP developers, developers building on top of the XRP ledger. And so he took a look at the last 4 quarters that were publicly announced. So Q2 had ended, but we don't have the data on that. So we've got Q1 and then all the way back to Q2 of 2018. And the total, this looks like it was sold, was 535,200,000. And that's rounded, of course, but that's what was sold. So again, 535, and then you've got total Spring investments at 500 million. So the disparity between those two numbers is only 35 million. Now, keep in mind, and this is why, like, look, Ripple selling their XRP is not such a bad thing because it further promotes a healthy ecosystem. And in terms of the market price, it doesn't directly affect it. It has a rather small impact because it's over-the-counter transactions, meaning that these transactions do not show up on exchanges. So you've got massive quantities of XRP flowing, and because it doesn't show up on exchanges, it doesn't affect the market rate. So when people are talking about Ripple dumping XRP all over the planet, well, it's not hurting the price anyway. And they just put in $500 million over the last 12 months. You know, so you tell me if Ripple's a good faith actor within the XRP ecosystem or not. I think the evidence is overwhelming. The answer is yes, they are a good faith actor. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have Ripple being the strongest cheerleader for positive movement within the XRP ecosystem. It's just incredible. So next piece here. And this is from dailyhodl.com. It states, Ripple unlocks 1 billion XRP, may sell smaller portion of the digital asset than usual. Now, the reason I wanted to cover this, and I don't really need to read through this, but my concern was that potentially this could be viewed as FUD, and I hope that's not the intent. I hope they're really just trying to report, but people could read this and be like, why isn't XRP selling? Is there no longer interest, this or that? And that's actually not the case, and this is all I wanted to point out within this article here, and I'll read this part for you. But Ripple previously announced, and I covered this, that they don't think that the way in which market volumes within the crypto asset class are reported, they don't think that it's accurate. There's a lot of fake volume, and they want to take specific measures to increase the accuracy, and that can result in numbers probably for Q2. We might foresee. Well, wait, we'll have to see what the numbers are when they're released, but it could show smaller figures. But that's because they're being tabulated differently. It doesn't mean that there's suddenly less interest in XRP. To the contrary, the XRP ecosystem and RippleNet at large, it's tremendously growing, and it's growing at an increasingly exponential rate. So it's really cool. So here's the part that I wanted to read from you. It states, we are evaluating our approach. This is Ripple. We are evaluating our approach to XRP volume reporting, including reviewing new options and requirements for sourcing market data. In the short term, this means Ripple sales of XRP in Q2 2019 will be substantively lower as a percentage of reported volume than in previous quarter. With our stated target of 20 BPS for programmatic sales of XRP volume as reported by CoinMarketCap, likely dropping to less than 10 BPS, longer term, by being more demanding about our expected standards for market structure and reporting, we hope to begin raising the bar industry-wide. And so this is another example of Ripple leading the way. They're true leaders, and so I can certainly appreciate what they're going for here. All right, next piece I got for you here. Yes, this is the piece I was talking about. Anthony Pompliano, I really like this guy. I know he's a Bitcoin maxi, but I like this guy. He comes off as a really genuine guy, and he doesn't talk crap about other coins, so I have a lot of respect for him. I just think that he's wrong on some things. He's totally right about the adoption of cryptocurrency at large, but in terms of his Bitcoin maximalism outlook, I wish I could sit down and pick this guy's brain, because I want to talk to him about some of the shortcomings that may or may not even be able to be overcome technologically. You're talking about proof of work, Lightning Network, which is a centralized solution in air quotes, we're requiring pre-funded accounts. There are all sorts of stuff I just love to talk to him about, just from like a friendly back and forth type of way. Because he doesn't talk about XRP or really too many other coins ever. But here's what was tweeted out, and there's this little clip here. It's over a minute long, and I watched this thing, and it says, it's from Jessica Walker at JessicaW_TV. In this interview, at A. Pompliano talks about his recent article, Bitcoin becoming a global reserve currency. And there's the quote, Bitcoin is the first currency focused on defense, not offense. And then ask the question, is Bitcoin defensible? And so basically what Anthony said in this little clip here, he's talking about how historically, anytime there's been a global reserve currency, which today is the United States dollars, it's basically whatever country has the largest military, that's what he says, that's the country that has their fiat currency used as the global reserve. And what he's proposing here is the idea that you really don't need that anymore. You can have something that's decentralized and it's more even in the sense that it's for everyone. Because I'm sure there are all sorts of countries out there that would love to have the United States dollar not be the reserve currency, but it just is now. And so he sees, his vision is that Bitcoin is going to take that role. And again, with him being a Bitcoin maxi, that's just how he sees it. I don't know that it's going to exactly pan out like that. I see a world where there are going to be at least a handful of long-term winners within the crypto world, cryptocurrencies that will have staying power. And I think when you end up in a truly liquid world, the importance of a reserve currency, if still important, becomes diminished to whatever degree. And so you could have, maybe Bitcoin will have staying power, but maybe XRP will have staying power, and there can be others, right? And so I don't share his vision that Bitcoin is just going to be the one reserve currency when you've got multiple decentralized distributed ledgers technology, cryptocurrencies that have staying power. Once that unfolds over a span of decades, I don't. Is it really just going to be one? Does it need to be just one? And what's the utility there? What's the case to be made for that? And so I don't entirely share his opinion on this, but he's not entirely wrong. I don't know that fiat currencies moving forward are going to be used as global reserve currencies forever. I literally just don't know, but we'll see. It's neat to watch it unfold. All right, and next piece, this is from Peter Schiff. I want to share with you something that I wrote, because I really like Peter Schiff. I agree with him on more things in life than I disagree, for sure, but he is so dead wrong when it comes to anything Bitcoin. He's like, or cryptocurrency, he's just anti that. And so he tweeted this out, and I responded, and I'm sure he's never going to respond to me. I hope he reads it, though. I hope he actually reads it. But he tweeted out, the advice that everyone should at least put some money into Bitcoin in case it moons, but no more than one can afford to lose, is self-serving for those who already own Bitcoin and want to sell. Just because you can afford to lose money does not mean you should throw it away. And that's what he said. So, and so then I responded ultimately, and there are two tweets in between this, but I don't need to read those. So I responded to him, and I wrote, except people can do things with decentralized technologies that are technologically impossible prior to their existence. Of course, humans will put a value on such digital assets, and some will have staying power because they have real utility. Real businesses use them. And that's the part that Peter Schiff either doesn't know or just refuses to recognize for whatever reason. But of course, if there's a digital asset that has actual use and there's a demand for it because it's used within businesses, of course that's going to have staying power. You can argue with me whether it's going to be XRP or something else. I think all evidence points that yes, one will be XRP unless something terribly changes that I couldn't foresee. But either way, crypto is here to stay because it, as a general technology, is very useful, and it's not too much to say that it will change the world. It is not too much to say that. So, Peter Schiff, smart guy, wrong on crypto. That's that. Okay. And I want to end the video one last thing here, and this is just a fun way to end it. I like to end on a fun, positive note when I can. So here's Michael Arrington, he's the founder of TechCrunch and Arrington XRP Capital, and he tweeted out yesterday, in January, we loaned 1,350 Bitcoin, 5 million at the time, to @IHaveCred at about 10% annualized. They repaid the loan and interest last week, worth $17 million at then current Bitcoin prices. They hedged upside risk perfectly. Everyone made money. Very happy with them. So yeah, kudos to them. And it's again, just a fun way to end on a positive note. And given Michael Arrington's strong support for XRP and how he's explained how he believes it's an excellent way to move money, I just thought I'd share one of his comments with you. So anyway, that's all I got for today. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea.